So it's the early 1900s. There's no iPod, there's no Xbox, there's no internet, there's no big screen movies, there's no entertainment. But you know, somebody's going to provide something fun to look at. So back in those days, before television and before all the things that we do to entertain ourselves, they had spectacles. And people would come out in the droves and thousands to see people do amazing stunts, kind of pre-Jackass kinds of stuff. And there was a guy from France named the Amazing Blondin, and his shtick was that he would stretch a tightrope from New York to Canada over the Niagara Falls area, and he would go across. And every day he would go across, the crowds would get larger. And he would do the same thing. I'm the Amazing Blondin. Do you believe in me? Can I cross this tightrope? And people would yell, we believe in you. And you know, they're sick. They want to see him fall, but they believe in him. So he would walk across the tightrope, and every day he would do something a little different, carrying people, stopping to drink wine, these types of things. And he would do the same thing. He would stop and say, I'm Blondin, do you believe in me? And they would say, yes, we do. One day, he gets a wheelbarrow and he puts it on the tightrope. He walks it across, throws his hands up and says, I'm Blondin, do you believe in me? And the crowd roared with approval. Yes, we do. Do you believe I can take it back? Yes, we do. And then he said, who will get in the wheelbarrow? And it got really quiet. The news report said that no one wanted to get in because, you see, people believed that he could do it, but they weren't willing to trust themselves in the wheelbarrow. As you might imagine, what's happening here is people believe in their head that it can happen, but they're not thinking that they want to be personally involved because they're not really so certain. Because they'd have to place their faith and their trust in this character named Blondin. And faith in the Bible is this theme that goes all the way through it, from the old to the new. But we think about faith as being for places like this, for places of worship. You know, if faith is for this life, it's for Sunday morning for a lot of people. Or that faith is just not about this world at all. It's about for when you die, that you go someplace nice instead of someplace hot. That faith isn't really for this life. But the Bible talks a lot about faith as being not merely in our head, not just believing that God exists, but entrusting ourselves to Him. That faith is actually getting into the wheelbarrow. John writes in his book about Jesus, and he writes this in the first chapter. He says, yet to all who received Him, there's this idea of receiving Jesus and getting Him personally involved. In a sense, it's like saying, you can be president of the country that's called me. I want to receive you into my life to be the king. It says to all who received Him, to those who believed in His name, who believed in Him. That's that idea of having faith. And we think, well, gosh, you know, I believe in God, but it's more than that. It's about entrusting ourselves. The wording means more than just believing in your mind. It means entrusting yourself. It says to those who received Him, to those who believed in His name, He gave the right to become children of God, to have a new and fresh relationship with God that comes through not believing that He exists so that He can get us to heaven or something. It's entrusting ourselves to Him in the today and for day-to-day life. When I first got married, my wife and I had a little baby, and we found out really quickly that having a baby is an expensive deal. And being a young couple, we never had quite enough money, and one day we got to the point where we did all our bills and gave some money to church and did everything we needed to do financially. And I said, it's time to go shopping for the next 2 weeks of groceries. And, hey, honey, how much do we have left? And she said, we've got $20 left for 2 weeks. And, you know, diapers and, man, food's expensive. Baby food's expensive. And I'm thinking, what are we going to do? I mean, God, I need you to show up. I needed to have trust in Him then. I needed to get in the wheelbarrow because I didn't have any way to motivate myself and deal with the issue. I didn't have any more money. So I had to entrust myself in this life. I had to trust and believe that God would take care of us. So strangely, we went to the store. We got out of the store, pulled out a shopping cart, found a brand new, crisp $100 bill sitting floating on that first bar of the shopping cart. We went and asked the manager, what do we do? Somebody lost some money. And he said, you know what? We don't hold it. You hold it. And if nobody claims it in a week, it's yours. And guess what? We went prepared to buy as much top ramen, mac and cheese, baby food, diapers as we could with $20. And it ran out in about a week. And when I called the manager, he said, nobody's claimed that money. You know, God doesn't go around doing that stuff every day. But our trust in him, just to drive to the store and say, God, we're going to need you to show up, proved to be worthy. It didn't help us that we believed that God existed. It helped us to entrust ourselves to him, to drive to the store believing that God would, one way or another, take care of us because we're his children, like John says. And that's the story of faith. Faith is about trusting. It's about allowing God to steer our lives. Believing in God isn't enough. Entrusting ourselves to him is. That's my story.